Good morning. It's 8 o'clock and we are at the intersection. It's so good to see you all this morning. I thought maybe the word had gotten out that I had COVID, and so everybody thought, okay, we have the week off. Well, I do, but I'm on the upper end. I firmly believe that. Although I'm a little bit slower, and it's probably a good thing to travel a little slower anyway. So it's good to see you this morning. We do have some important announcements while we give folks a few more minutes to join us. I know that April is with us. I don't know if you want to put anything on screen or not, April. You're welcome to, or I can go find the flyer while you tell everybody about it.
Okay, that will be wonderful.
I'll see what I can do.
So I work with SJRC Texas and Belong, and we are the nonprofit that facilitates and manages all foster care and adoption and case management for the kids in 27 counties surrounding Bexar County. And we do that under the community-based care model. And because we're not sure if everybody quite understands what all that means and ways that they can be involved, and especially congregations that can be supportive of families in that under that model, we are having a special meeting. And it's also because Bexar County is going to be transitioning into community-based care in probably the next year and a half. And so we really are wanting to get as many people have greater awareness about what that is and how they can get involved. So we're having a special meeting next Thursday. And it is the Bexar County Foster Care Convening for Faith-Based Leaders. And it's going to be at Meals on Wheels at 2718 Danbury. So that would be probably following this meeting, right? If this meeting ends at 8:30, that meeting. Oh, there we go. Thank you so much. And that is 9:30 to 11:30, and it's an in-person meeting. So we would love to see you and get to meet you in person. And it'll be a very, it won't be a large gathering, and everybody will have an opportunity to ask questions and, to feel comfortable that they understand it. And if they have questions about it or concerns about it or want to know how they get involved, we want to share all that information with you there. So we hope that you can join us, and also bring anyone else that you want. We do ask that you register. There's no charge for it. We just would like to register so we know how many people to expect. So we would love to see you there. Thank you for letting me make that announcement here.
Sure, April. Couple things though. When you say community-based care, what does that mean? And you also say SJRC, that's who you're with.
Yes.
And so you might want to spell that out for folks.
Thank you. So SJRC is what people formerly knew as St. Jude's Ranch for Children. We had a foster care facility in Bulverde, and we have it and have had it for 40 years. We've been caring for children out there. But now we go by SJRC. It's just an acronym for it. And then as of 2 years ago, we also have a Belong division. So you might sometimes hear people say SJRC and Belong. The Belong division is the division that manages the community-based care. And so what that is exactly is, for years, everybody knows that DFPS has handled investigations and handled removals of children in the child welfare system, and they still do that. But now, from the point of removal, they call us, and we handle the immediate placement and the case management and the reunification. And so ideally, we want kids to go with family once they're removed, extended family. If they can't do that, we'd like them to be in foster care in a foster home. And if not that, our last resort is a shelter. So, but we manage that case management. We work with families, and we get support from the community. And that's an important part of the community-based care, is because we're not the state, we're a nonprofit. So we can accept donations, we can accept help to support these families as they're trying to reunite with their kids. And also just
Hi. We seem to have lost our sound a bit.
I'm still here. I thought
okay, it just kind of blipped or something. So thank you, April. I hope some folks go. I intend to go. I should be free to do so by then.
Oh, good. That's perfect. Yeah. Yes. Good.
I also wanted to announce quickly I tell you, the county's busy. But I do know that there's also concern in this group. I can only find the flyer right now in one of my emails. So hopefully you can see this, but Bear County is also having a gun safety town hall. Wait a minute, I missed this one. It was last week. Sorry about that. I'm sorry about that, but it was last week. If Patty were here, we'd ask her to talk about it, but it is a great intro to next week. Councilman Courage has asked to come and speak with this group, and he is looking at creating a weapons exchange program. And so I'm hoping that many of you will come next week to At the Intersection when Councilman Courage is with us. He'd like to have spent more time with us than the half hour, but I explained to him how we're set up, and so we'll still do the same setup, but he really wants to have a conversation about that and to involve the faith community. Other cities have done it the same way through the faith community, again, exchange program. And so he's really hoping that all of us will partner with that effort into the future. So that's next week at the Intersection. And Doug, I'm going to just keep asking about Pathways to Hope.
Yeah, I put in the chat, I put the registration link, August 25th and 26th, Tobin Center. There's the flyer. It's easy to register. The conference is to bring people together from across the community to help break the stigma of mental illness, but mainly to have a conversation. Great plenary speakers, great workshops. The agenda's on the registration link. The conference is not only free, but CEUs are free. So we hope one of the best things about it is to get everybody together at the Tobin Center, because when you do, it is just a healing process. People, I said last week, the hardest thing is for me to get people out of the lobby and into these workshop sessions, because people enjoy visiting so much. So tell your friends, neighbors, anybody that cares about community and mental health, please come, August 25th and 26th.
Thank you so much, Doug. And I was looking quick to see if Julie had joined us yet, and she hasn't. But today, the video that we're looking at with Compassionate USA is about compassion for others and with others. And it features Father David Garcia. He's been around a while, and yeah, so we're gonna look at that video this morning. And I hope that Julie Felix will join us. Julie is with Alamo Colleges in the Peace Center there. And she created all the curriculum. She did all the writing behind the scene. So I'm hoping she makes it this morning. So let's see if we can make this happen. I'm running just a little slower. This COVID thing finally got me. Okay.
Author and world-renowned meditation teacher Sharon Salzberg shared a story about an experience she had one day, which many of us can relate to. While driving with a friend, Salzberg became agitated when they were stuck in traffic. She received a profound insight when her friend turned to her and said, "You know, we're the traffic too." That story illustrates our connection to others and our ability to recognize that just like me, others experience difficulty, distress, and suffering. The word compassion literally means to suffer together. When we recognize the suffering of others and feel the wish to relieve that suffering, we are experiencing one of the superpowers of our humanity. Our capacity to act with compassion is deeply rooted in our biology. When humans witness the suffering of another, it alerts our brains to react. It releases a chemical reaction that compels us to feel concerned, love, and a desire to help. Without this instinct to care for others, our chances of survival would have been seriously limited. For example, anthropologists have discovered evidence of early humans with serious injuries or disabilities who could only have survived into old age with the help of their group. Today, our ability to act with compassion compels us to react to our baby's cry when she's hungry, reach out to a friend going through a difficult time, or let another driver merge ahead of us when we are in traffic. When we practice compassion, we truly understand that just like me, most people want to be happy, healthy, and out of harm's way. Compassion is a powerful state that can help us connect with others and improve the world. In this video, we'll talk with Father David Garcia to explore the nature of compassion, and we'll reflect on the way compassion in action has a rippling effect.
A few years ago, Pope Francis started what ended up being a full year of mercy in the Catholic Church. And it was just focus on mercy. How do you put mercy into action? And to me, that's very, very close to the whole idea of compassion, because compassion is actually being able to put mercy and how we feel towards others into action. So the concept of compassion I see in the lives and the commitments of the people who are ordinary people, but they do extraordinary things in moments when they are most needed. All the stories that we had during the COVID period, so many of them were stories of compassion, of people who didn't have to do what they were doing, but they did it because they cared about others. I think some people would see compassion as weakness. Why should I show compassion to anybody if they just pull themselves up by their bootstraps? But to understand that in our society, there are a lot of people who have almost no options. Why are the poor poor? They're poor because they have no options. They live where they live because no one wants affordable housing in their neighborhood. And so then they end up being in these islands of poverty. And so here we have something that in a sense we have systematically created and not allowed ourselves to be compassionate by saying, we got to break some of these systems up in order for all of us to be able not only to feel compassion, but compassion helps pull a person up. It doesn't leave them on the ground. The idea is that their humanity is at stake, and I'm trying to pull that up so that they can live, that they can have options in life, they can choose to develop who they are and who God wants them to be. And I can have a role in that by a few things that I can do with an individual and also with my community.
When I was a young priest, I was involved in community organizing. I was in one of the poorest neighborhoods of the city. And over the course of 5 years that I was there at that neighborhood, we were able to get a lot of physical things done in the neighborhood, like drainage and a new park and streets and sidewalks, and worked on the school and all those kinds of things. And so each one of us could do that, but I didn't do it by myself. I kind of sparked some things that other people could organize around. And I believe that when people are given an opportunity, once they understood the issues, once they understood that their voices could be heard if they organized collectively and if they organized unselfishly, meaning this is not just for me, this is for my children, my grandchildren, and for others in the community, that made all the difference in the world. Things changed. So I've seen it happen, and that's what gives me hope that it can happen at a larger level.
Compassion is more than an emotional state. At its highest level, compassion is action. It makes us stronger, more resilient, and more connected to others. Studies show compassion improves individuals' health and lives, fuels positive change in societies, and supports the most vulnerable. It is also a sign of strength rather than weakness. In the words of Khalil Gibran, tenderness and kindness are not signs of weakness and despair, but manifestations of strength and resolution. When we practice compassion, we are not just kind to others, we are also being kind to ourselves, which helps us feel stronger, more peaceful, and happier. We hope you enjoyed this video. For more resources and to continue learning, please visit the link on the screen and join the Compassionate USA Skills course.
But I did want to show you the contemplative practice that's also listed under each of the videos. So you will see on screen, this is where you go to find the videos at Compassionate USA. You can find them on the landing page, or you can look under Learn, where you can find the videos or the micro course. But under each one as well, so this was today's that we just watched, there's also a practice. And so each time one simple practice is given, and that can be shared. So I wanted to show you that resource today. And I generally open it with a question. And I think it's still going to be a question, but a little bit different question. I know, well, the thing that has helped me and instructed me and given me so much hope about compassion is also the neuroscience that has come underneath all of it, all of this greater movement of it and education. And within that, we've learned in the neuroscience that compassion is a part of the human DNA. But in the process of practicing and knowing these things, there are also things that we, of course, that kind of surprise us or teach us that maybe we didn't know before. So that's my question to all of you. Is there something about compassion? And we could lean more into with others, but if there's something about compassion that you have learned in recent years that you didn't know and that you've come into understanding about. So I'll start while you're thinking about that. One of the things that I have learned that has really helped and instructed me is the difference between empathy and compassion. They're closely related. Empathy is that feeling, that connectivity with someone else's suffering. Empathos, with that suffering. The neuroscience also tells us that it's not so much compassion fatigue as it is empathy fatigue. So it shows that when we have empathy, there's a drain of our energy. Our energy extends to another or extends to us, but there's this energy, that movement between us. And if we're continually utilizing the empathy, it's not a bad thing, but we will feel drained. And the difference then with compassion is a sense of agency, a sense that we can do something, that we can take action, and then we put that action into play. That's compassion. And compassion, neuroscience tells us, actually creates energy within us. And maybe you've recognized that before when you've been with a group that is working towards some sort of change and care for other human beings. You might actually feel energized when you're working with that group and working together. That's compassion at work. That sense of agency and that garnering of action. So I'm wondering if there have been things that you've learned about compassion that have been really significant and you might want to share with others. So I'm going to open that up. Anybody want to raise their hand and give some thought?
I have something, Anne. The thing that I want to say is has been a surprise to me is like compassion can be cultivated like a muscle. And, I guess I must have thought that, well, some people are more saintly than me or whatever, but it's not really like that. My life may have shaped me in a certain way, like shaped and misshaped me, and I can practice and that I feel stronger and I feel better and I feel freer the more I cultivate compassion, then it can be cultivated. So that's what I learned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it falls into some more neuroscience, the whole neurogenesis and neuroplasticity of our brain, which those stronger neural pathways that we utilize more than others, that comes from sheer repetition. So that cultivation and practicing actually creates new, stronger neural pathways. So practice, does make us a little bit more perfect. When we practice the different compassion skill sets, understanding awareness is one of those skill sets, but like just understanding empathy and compassion, that recognition itself for me has been very helpful in the movement of things and decisions I make. Doug.
So I put in the chat a link to, it's actually the Center for Compassion and Altruism at Stanford University Medical School. And Ann, you and I talked about it over the years. Dr. Neil Doty, who actually came here and spoke at Trinity University, but they've done a lot of research on what are the changes in your brain. And you talked about neuroplasticity and how, and that's why we talk about when you are compassionate, it's actually healing. It changes who you are. And I think the first time I read the articles and heard Dr. Doty talk, the first thought I had was, wow, God designed us that way. He designed us to be compassionate. He designed us that when we are compassionate, we become, it helps us and it helps the other person. So since this is a faith-based group, I thought I would at least give that plug that way. Thanks.
Other thoughts or examples that you have seen in our city? I have to tell you, the other day when I was headed back from vacation, before I knew I had this souvenir of COVID with me. Fortunately, I masked as an act of compassion. I didn't know I had it, but I had masked in the airports and on the airplane. But I was in the airport waiting for my flight returning. And a man, the place was crowded. A man was walking through, the kind of the central area between gates, the walkway. And he yelled out, "I can't find my parents." And everybody turned and looked because he yelled out and he was desperate. And a woman was probably, 4 feet away from him. She walked straight to him, took him by the hand. It was the most amazing thing to watch. I felt like I was in a movie. It was almost like time slowed down a bit. She took him by the hand and they walked over to, the departure screen that has all the different gates and flights. And they obviously had a conversation and they figured out, like what flight and what gate. And they turned around and hand in hand, they walked over to his gate. It doesn't sound like much if you think about how much time that was, but it was so beautiful to watch because the man was at a desperate moment. And she just stepped into that life and took that hand and found out where to go. A small act, but one that made a very big difference. Other surprises and learnings about compassion or how it applies to some of the places that we find ourselves. We could actually do kind of an experiment. Sam.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
For me personally, I think I've always been a compassionate person. Even in my youth, when I was a raging maniac, I was still compassionate about people. When I got this job almost 6 years ago, it put me at a different level of compassion. My 4 kids have seen this massive change in me as a man, as a person, as a father. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this website you all mentioned, and I'm looking at this. It says the science of compassion. It has these words that kind of ring true with, you know, when you become very compassionate, these other characteristics and principles kind of rise inside you as a person within your soul and your spirit, like kindness and heart and concern and sympathy, selflessness and empathy and wisdom and grace and nurturing, caring and love. I find myself waking up crying sometimes. And I think it's from all the conversations I have, you know, with the men and women that we have that come through our doors. And when I first got into this business, I have a few friends of mine that are social workers, and a friend of mine, Cindy from California, wrote to me and she said, she goes, "Be careful of vicarious trauma." I had never even heard the word in my life, you know, until I started working here. So I looked it up and I thought, that's interesting. And before, probably within the year, I understood exactly what it meant. So that's why, you know, self-care is so important for us people that work in this industry, because we do take on a lot of other people's trauma, and we need to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of them. So I know my compassion level is, you know, at the highest it's ever been in, you know, my 60 years of living. And I see that it continues to grow. I guess that's why I'm on 5, you know, domestic violence committees and all this stuff. I'm just trying to work with everybody to find a way. How do we stop this? You know, how do we get people to have a little more peace and normalcy and harmony in their lives? You know, so we don't have to deal with all of this. You know, so I guess if we all just show a little bit more compassion and continue to grow in it, then hopefully at one point overcomes everything else we're trying to deal with.
Well, and it's wonderful listening to your story, Sam, about how you're aware that your children have watched this transformation in you. That's another form of vicarious compassion, you know, but the change and transformation and how important that is, no matter when it is, but that people feel and experience that growth, and especially our children and where that goes. Jerry, you have your hand up.
I need to unmute myself. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I wanted to talk about the compassion that I've seen in the city of San Antonio through NAMI Bridges to Care. I am lucky. I'm the one that gets to run the trainings for Bridges to Care, and people are coming in droves to learn about mental health and how to help their fellow man. And it's amazing to me how much and how many people want to show compassion and do show compassion through the language of mental health. And for some people, it's the first time they've ever encountered the language of mental health. And it's inspiring to see what they do with that. And some of the congregations that we've trained have gone so far beyond what their original plan was. We have some people that are traveling to Washington, D.C. to advocate for mental health, just based on what they first learned in one of our courses at NAMI Bridges to Care. And it shows me that once we're given the language of compassion, there's so much we can do. Even if we don't know we can.
Jerry, that's just such a great example too of compassion on a larger scale, on a collective scale. So Bridges to Care being that larger movement that's happening in San Antonio as a model to other cities as well. I haven't heard recently about how many congregations in San Antonio. Do we have a number floating around that
we have 81 now congregations and 30 nonprofit organizations that have taken some form of Bridges to Care NAMI Bridges to Care training. And that equates to about 805 individuals in the past 3 years. And and people are just clamoring to get more training. We've developed a lot more courses that people can take. It's largely on Zoom. We do have some in person. And it's amazing that people are coming out of the woodwork and what they do with what they've learned. It's inspiring to me. I was always hopeful, but I'm even more so now.
So a great example of a systems level of compassion, and it's 8:30. So those who may need to leave, some have already done so, but thanks for being with us today. We're going to keep on talking for those who have time and wish to. But it does lead us into next week, another look systemically at compassionate work. Councilman John Courage is going to be with us, and he's going to be talking about a weapons exchange program that he's hoping that congregations will help with. I know Houston has done this and other cities, and they've done that through congregations. So looking systemically at what can we do within a larger system of suffering, and what simple things like exchanging weapons, how can we change the system and become more compassionate with each other? So I hope you join us next week, and please tell others. I know that the councilman also wants a conversation, and he wants to hear from us on how we can do this and how we can do it efficiently, effectively, but how we can do it broadly across the community as well. So I hope you join us next week with the councilman. So back to other conversation about compassion with others within systems. We've watched all 6 of the videos now. We started at number 5, which started with systems. And then we went back again to compassion with self and awareness and gratitude and with others. So we've watched all 6. So we've kind of made complete circle. Now would be a really good time to rewatch them, right? And talk about what we're seeing. I encourage everyone to look at the micro course and go deeper then into the study of each one. While we're waiting for any comments or hands to come up, I do want to share with you one thing that is also, there are many things available at that website. I really am excited about this website because it's interactive. But another thing that you will find there, hope you can see this on the screen, but there are resources, and I'm on that resource page right now. But you can find out more about the folks who did speak in the different videos. Today's David Garcia. But then there are other resources, book, engagement, conversation, trauma, education. These are other curriculums that you can find to go deeper. And in fact, one that Doug brought up with Dr. Doty, that's this one right here. Theirs is kind of a professional level training in compassion, where you take on one project for the year and you work through that project systemically with compassion. And some other resources on the left. So I wanted you to know that resource also exists. They don't go overwhelmingly into a whole bunch of resources. I think probably one of the most helpful ongoing kind of continuing education is through the Charter for Compassion itself. They have an education component and workshops running all the time online. So you get to go to school with people globally, and all of their courses are either at no cost, or they try to keep them under $35. So they try to keep continuing education of compassion at a very reasonable rate. but going very deep. They always have an ongoing book read, global book read. And I think that part is exciting, that you're able to do that kind of study with people from all over the world. And which we need to be making those kind of connections to strengthen our compassion. Any other comments or last thoughts? We're kind of a quiet group. I'm quieter this morning, but a little bit. If you've not become a Compassionate USA partner, I do encourage you to do that. There's no cost to any of this, and that includes partnership, but being a partner. So Sam, I'm just looking across the top. Your organization should be a partner. I know that NAMI and Bridges, they're partners. Sacred.org, they should be a partner. I know there's Randy Rice, Madison Square Presbyterian, they're a partner. I see Martha Ann Kirk's name there. University of Incarnate Word was the very first university to be a partner. So I want you, I can just keep going down the list. SJRC, they should be a partner. And, but it connects us locally. It builds that weaving of network, but it also connects us nationally and globally. So please consider being a partner of Compassionate USA.
So what do we need to do to make that happen, Ms. Ann?
It's pretty easy. I'll go back to sharing screen, because then we also then learn about, there are 2 interns this summer working with me, with the faith-based initiative. And I learned a new term, the interactive website. So this isn't just a website with information, but it's one where you can interact. And sacred.org is an interactive webpage. So I hope you can see this, and I hope it takes us to partners. Sam, did it take us to partners?
Yep.
Great.
They're there.
So if you go to the website and just go to partners, underneath it, it talks about what the partnership means. There are 3 parts. One is to affirm it, saying yes to compassion, right? The second part is to tell others about it, communicate and promote. And the third part is to get it out there and use it ourselves. So it's an additional training, for example, Sam, that you all could be utilizing with your program, going through the micro course with people together, or using the 6 videos somewhat like we have. You would want to probably have a longer time than our half-hour time to really get into a conversation discussion. There's a discussion guide that comes with it. But if you go to this page too, then you will also see below, well, you'll see the ones by state. You can go by state and find partners, but you can scroll below and see the different partners. You'll see we even have people from Australia. So there are people from around the world who are joining. I love this part, because when you scroll over, you'll notice that the colors show. And if I click on one of these, it goes to their website. So we're building that kind of web as well. And here's NAMI.
Yeah.
And Bridges to Care, right? Here's our city. But to partner then, you just click on to become a partner, and you enter your name and the organization, and you'll actually be talking to me. So that email comes to me. And once you've discerned, I send you some paperwork, and it's not like paperwork as in forms to fill out, but just the very basics and how you can get the information out into the world. But once you decide that, yep, that's what we want to do, you'll send in a high resolution logo, and that logo will then go here with the others. And then you'll receive in return an official certificate that you can post on your website, or you can print and frame it and put it in your office, or I don't know, post it on your fridge at home. But then you're a partner. And
I'm gonna put it on the back of my car.
We should do that. We should do like bumper stickers, but
Like license plate,
yeah, but you'll see when you click on like Human Values Center here, which is a very interesting group of people. But so can you see that and how it goes? Yeah. You could spend hours on the Compassionate USA website finding out about others and making connections.
That's what we should be doing.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice.
And
I
the
like
key
that.
to it, yeah, the key to it is then actually utilizing the materials. And you could be watching videos at home with your family and have that conversation. You could use it for, an adult study or forum in your congregation. There could be a whole study group that's going through the micro course at the same time. And so it's online, but everybody could take one session and then come together and discuss it. There's so many different ways that you could use it. And again, it's all at no cost. So any other last thoughts before we say adieu, adios, see you next time? Well, it was good to see some humans. I'm getting a little stir crazy in my house, but it will be good to, again, engage folks. Don't forget, COVID is still out there. But we are stronger and we've lived through the same suffering together. So it's going to be and has been our honor to go through healing together, because that's going to strengthen us too. So thank you all for being with us this morning. And you know what? Next time we're going to hear about Festival of Faiths. I just saw that Wendy Holbrook is there, but we're going to hear next time about the festival. For now, she's going to tell us to save the date. And the date is, Wendy?
January 21st, 2024 at UIW.
All right. So come with that stuff next time, Wendy. We're going to hear about it.
Okay.
Thank you all. Have great weekends. And we'll see you next week with Councilman John Courage at the intersection. Take care.